Don't ask me where I've been sick, okay? Relax. I listened to a bunch of albums over the weekend that I couldn't also include my reaction to because, like I just said, I've been sick. Vince Staples' FM is one of those albums. Really fell in love with this project though, man. FM, Vince Staples, let's talk about it. Vince Staples, Northside Long Beach, has just decided to drop another album called FM. This comes after his Prima Donna EP dropped last year, also after his Big Fish Theory. No, Prima Donna was 2016, Big Fish Theory 2017 last year. Prima Donna being Vince Staples' satirical, over-exaggerated view of himself, while Big Fish Theory remained one of his more stable albums that was confined to a more water-themed idea, being a smaller person in a big pond, or a big person in a small pond, whatever it was. Main issue with that project was just how short it fell thematically. I thought it could have been a much more cohesive, much more structured project, especially for an album formed around some guy's, hypothesis, some guy's theory, some guy's thoughts. But he did have some pretty good singles on there, one of which was titled Big Fish, that had a water theme to it. But it didn't really seem to catapult him into any kind of success. It had this minimalistic production behind it, and I think that's the case for a lot of Vic Mensa so bad. It seems that no matter what project he comes out with, whether it was something off Summertime 06, a song that might have popped from Prima Donna or Big Fish Theory, he never really seemed to catapult into commercial success. And I don't know if that's because of the way he carries himself, like his demeanor, his tone is very sarcastic. He kind of carries himself that way in a lot of his projects. Lyrically, the tone of a lot of his music is kind of sassy, so maybe a lot of people aren't into that. Myself personally, I don't mind it at all. And so that tone might come off to people as a bit of a slap in the face, like you're listening to my music, but I'm also chastising you at the same time. So with the project FM, it was a 22-minute album that I did not know was coming at all, and Vince really delivered on this thing. I mean, I just appreciate the structure. I appreciate the attention to detail. I appreciate how small of a package this thing comes in, but how much it comes with, how many results it spawns, how much music is replayable with this project. From the start of this album, even though it feels like a different approach from Vince Staples, it doesn't feel like a different sound. It doesn't feel like he's going outside of his element. He still seems very much at home, but he seems to just be tackling the music in a different way this time. Starting off with this ambience in the track that allows Ty Dolla $ign to come in with the hook that allows him to do what Ty Dolla $ign does best. Vince Staples on this project seems to fit his life into the most appropriate settings, not really in ways that make you feel like he's smacking you in the face while he's trying to talk about the shit that he's been through. I mean, when I tell you there are so many songs off this album that are my favorite, oh my god, I'm not lying to you.
Who bout that live? East side. Who bout that live? North side. Who bout the slide?
I mean, these songs have a rhythm and a replay factor to them that was just missing off projects like Big Fish Theory and Prima Donna. And I could probably attribute that to the less experimental approach here. I mean, it's a lot more rhythmic and a lot more structured just as a song in general. If I can explain it in a way that I mean best, the beats on this album kind of confine Vince to this space or this room or this realm where he doesn't have that many places to go. With some of the more experimental approaches on his tracks off of the Big Fish Theory, it seemed like he gave himself far too much room to do too many things. A lot of room that you would give a more eccentric rapper, a rapper that is a little bit more well-versed vocally than Vince is. But I think here on this project, it just gives him the perfect amount of space to be as vocally interesting as possible without giving him too much room to go wrong. These beats and these instrumentals being the way they are, I think give Vince the perfect amount of room to catch a beat but not go too far and stray away from the track doing something completely different. I think they're short enough to maintain their catchiness but also keep Vince confined to the track itself without trying to go off and have these random ideas. I mean, the beats are just so addicting that you wouldn't want to do anything else but rap over these on tempo, on beat. They're so short, they're so confined, they're so rhythmic, pretty fast paced, adding even more to their replayability. The drums on Don't Get Chipped with the hook from J-Rock is fucking phenomenal. Eerie and hypnotic sensation that you get on a track like Run the Bands, where Vince pretty much details these stories about robbing people. One of the funniest lines of this entire project, it being so short, is House So Big Need Kanye Lipo.
Head on the swivel, no bleeding me. Head on the swivel, no bleeding me. Head on the swivel, no bleeding.
When I tell you, I could probably give you a setting for each and every one of these tracks that's appropriate, with exception to the skits. Another thing that's pretty great about this album is it handles itself pretty much like a big boy radio broadcast, featuring cuts from Big Boy to make this thing sound a little bit more like a radio station, to make it sound like you're listening to the radio. It's structured in a way that doesn't necessarily feel the need to confine itself to any idea or confine itself to any kind of topic. Just a run of different tracks from Vince that work, that you would listen to, that you would play on any car ride. It's so fluid. Another piece of this album that I genuinely love is how it's regionally influenced, obviously by the West Coast, and it feels like it's just Vince's tribute to his Long Beach upbringing, demographic in the area that he wanted to make music for while being influenced by the West Coast. It just seems like such an artistic project, a project that isn't really influenced by like label decisions, by fan influence, just solely dependent upon the artist's inspiration. I mean, on tracks like Fun, Vince just seems to be perfectly tackling songs where he's strong, like he's going right for the jugular with his strength, making himself what might be the most accessible Vince Staples we've ever seen in just a short dose of 22 minutes. My biggest complaint with this project really just comes down to the features not really carrying the most of their weight, like people like Kehlani, which on her track she did do well, but I don't know how strong her performance was for me to really merit how much of the song she actually took up. I will give her that her vocals seem really like controlled and really tame, so it didn't necessarily throw the song off of its balance. I just don't know if it really did anything for me. And the Tyga and Earl Sweatshirt songs being so short, it seemed like if these songs had actually been given at least a minute or two, they could have been fleshed out into something really entertaining. It's just these songs act as just massive dick teases, and that's it. And also, I kind of would have expected an album like this with a sound like this to be released sometime in the spring or summer, not really in the fall and winter. Not knocking points off for that or anything, I just thought it was a little odd. Kenny Beats, go back and produce everything that Vince has ever made if it's gonna sound like this. And the best part about it is it's not something that you have to pay that much attention to. Well, consider a track like Fun that's kind of this take on Vince's demographic and him being aware of the people who watch him and listen to him most, being these suburban white kids that are able to chime into the culture from the outside perspective, looking at Google Maps as a perspective on what goes on in Long Beach, saying the only way they have access to this culture is through the internet. Even acknowledging this still comes off a little sassy from Vince, but I like it because it's also an acknowledgement of how the internet kind of bridges the gap between people and allows others access into worlds that they would never normally encounter without it. I mean, the lack of concept with this project makes the filler that you do here completely okay, because it's just one long radio. It's just a radio station and that's it. It makes it so easy to listen to. Whether it's the production or the way Vince manages to attach himself to it, these tracks are just so addicting. It's hard to hate them, especially when their runtime is just a few minutes. Vince Staples, FM. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. My voice is going out. Not really, but yeah, this was a great project. I enjoyed it. Hope you do too. If you didn't, let me know why. If you did, let me know why. And I'll see y'all next time. And I'm out. Peace. Listen to the album, bitch.